mitigating the risk of public models, providing the access controls and guardrails around private models, and providing the role-based access controls of which enterprise data sources can be used in generative AI interactions. And that's really the breadth that we see customers trying to piece together and put together into one platform or one holistic solution. And that's really what we are the easy button for, is bringing all of those control points together.
Hey, Casey, how's it going?
Hey, Haley, good to see you. Thanks for having me on today.
Good to see you. Thank you for making the time. All right. So first and foremost, what is SurePath and who is it for?
Yeah, SurePath AI really enables businesses to govern their use of generative AI across their employee workforces. We help mitigate the risk of public generative AI models and services. We provide the tools to enable private model access and implement the controls and guardrails that enterprises really need. And it helps unlock businesses to be able to put powerful AI tools into the right hands of their employees, knowing that their usage and their data are secure.
So there's a lot to unpack there. And I think one of the things that, stood out to us when we were looking at this market, right, is anything within Gen AI, anything within security, it's really jargony. There's a lot of overlap. The market is crowded, right? So maybe if you could unpack a little bit, right, what's unique about SurePath compared to other solutions that are out there right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's really two primary differences. The first is that we implement our governance controls at a network level. There are a lot of other solutions that have emerged to solve point solutions, and there may be an agent or a browser extension. And not only is that a challenge for enterprises to deploy because it's competing for real estate on your desktop, maybe competing against other security tools, but managing those solutions at a browser or an endpoint level are also not seamless to be able to deploy or manage across an enterprise. There's also all of these new embedded applications like desktop applications, SaaS applications that also need to be secured. And a point solution like a browser extension or a desktop agent doesn't meet that breadth of governance that enterprises really need. I think the second major differentiator is the breadth of our platform. We really saw the need for enterprises to the gaps that they had to solve of how they actually govern and secured the use of generative AI across their workforce. And it wasn't just public generative AI services. That's top of mind for many organizations. But then they also want to unlock private model access, and they want to control which enterprise data sources users can access as they leverage internal generative AI models. And so it's really the breadth of the customer maturity lifecycle, from mitigating the risk of public models, providing the access controls and guardrails around private models, and providing the role-based access controls of which enterprise data sources can be used in generative AI interactions. And that's really the breadth that we see customers trying to piece together and put together into one platform or one holistic solution. And that's really what we are the easy button for, is bringing all of those control points together.
I think that's what's really interesting, is it can be, a customer can come in at a different point on their maturity cycle. And so when you think about the entry point that a lot of your, customers and, companies that you're working with now, is it typically the, hey, we've got, we know that there is all of this shadow AI or public, model consumption that people are using, just let us see? Is it that visibility aspect that's typically first?
I think it all depends on what the executive mandate was last week. Many businesses blocked generative AI out of the gate, and now they have a mandate to unblock it because they realize how critical it is to get access and get it in people's hands. And so the CIO, the CTO, the CISO, they're all trying to solve that challenge of how do we meet the mandate to now unblock and unlock this technology. Many have not addressed it at all and said, we're going to cross our fingers and hope our employees use it right. Maybe we'll do a little education. And now we have some security concerns and some risks. And so we want to stop access to these public services, but we simultaneously need to offer our employees a destination to accomplish those tasks, to be productive. And so what's our alternative? And so every business is going through a different shift. We've actually seen customers go one way to the other and then back again. And what we're seeing, I think the end state where most customers end up is it's a mixture of public services. There are some departments and groups that you want to grant access to specific generative AI tools, but then also a combination of private models that have your enterprise context data, that sensitive data, PII information can be securely used with, and you don't have a lot of the data leakage concerns or risks that you would normally have with public services.
Yeah. So, I mean, all this seems to be checking all of the boxes, right? So maybe the big question is how, right? So tell us a little bit about you and your co-founder and how SurePath came to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually in my prior role, I got to consult quite a bit with C-suite technical leaders. I led the cloud business at a large SI. My co-founder, Randy, ran an application security business at a large OEM network provider. And the two of us were meeting with CISOs and CIOs, and they were asking us, I've got a policy that I want to roll out to my employees. Do you mind helping me define that or help with our communication plan? Do you mind taking a look at a couple slides we plan to show our board next week? And in those conversations, we saw a clear pattern emerge. We both independently saw this and saw that customers were really left with two options. They could block it with traditional security tools and tell employees, generative AI is just not allowed at our business. Or they could say, pretty, please only use it this way. And I would ask CISOs, I'd say, how do you plan to measure if they're following your guidance and your acceptable use policies? Or how do you plan to even enforce those policies? And the answer was, we have no idea. And that's still where most customers are today, is they really don't know how they're going to implement those controls. And that just created a glaring gap that there is a massive gap for governance and control of this net new technology. And it spans so many technology areas that you really need a platform that brings all of those capabilities together.
Yeah. So, you joked about like the latest board mandate of the week. But I think that's not a joke in many ways. There's all of this urgency around companies adopting this technology and figuring out a solution that is going to work for the enterprise. Maybe, can you talk a little bit more about the differences that you've seen from when you started in, August, right, to now? Has the driver of those urgencies been the same? Are you still getting sort of those board mandates? Have things cooled down a bit? Like, what does that evolution look like just in the past, 6+ months to a year?
Yeah, over the last year, I think we're now seeing that what we saw as an unconscious need is now conscious. Now we're having customers that are actively looking for what is their GenAI governance solution going to be. And they're trying to piece that together of in-house built tools, services, and consulting engagements, maybe piecing together other platforms. And that's really where, when we engage with customers, they're understanding that we're meeting those needs, many of which they may not have yet identified. I think another major thing that's happened is, as that's come to the kind of conscious level of the market and of key technology buyers, of this being a need to implement their own GenAI strategy and consult and security policies and control points throughout their environment, we're also seeing that now there's this term shadow AI. And so employees are using generative AI at work at a higher frequency. Many employers are trying not to stop it because they know it's bringing productivity gains, but they're trying to figure out how to mitigate the risk of that activity. And I think that's a big part of our differentiator too, is that we're transparently aligning the use to the enterprise policies. And we're not just blocking access. We're not encouraging them to pull out their personal device. I think that we still continue to see executive mandates. We still continue to see the pressure and drives to adopt generative AI and solve these challenges. But now the conversation has shifted to, what will my governance plan be? How am I going to get observability of all public and private model use? And the realization that data, the insights of how my employees are using generative AI, the prompts and the interactions that they're having with models, that observability and visibility is its own goldmine of data that now businesses are planning. And they're seeing that the maybe the proof of concept that their development team had started last quarter or 6 months ago or 12 months ago hasn't gone into production because they didn't have those controls and they didn't have those policies in place and they didn't have a centralized visibility layer. So now they're pausing and saying, let's solve those dependencies before we invest any further. And that's really where we're seeing cloud partners and Gen AI services engagements from model providers themselves, because once we put the controls in place, now we unlock the innovation because we know how we're going to control access to a model after it's tuned or trained with sensitive enterprise data.
Yeah. And I think, when you think about traction, right, there's so many different ways to measure traction. And, typically for an enterprise startup, you're thinking about number of customers and ARR. But I think what's really interesting about SurePath is thinking about the traction from the aspect of actual employee engagement and productivity. So when you think about traction and, what's most exciting to you to date, what comes to mind?
What gets me most excited about traction to date is the speed at which we can bring value to customers. We hear a lot from customers who've been struggling with these challenges, and they say, we're behind. Well, there's a lot of businesses that have not been able to solve these problems. Most businesses haven't been able to solve these underlying challenges. And so a lot of customers maybe feel like they're behind, and that we can get them to really advance generative AI outcomes because we put the policies and controls in place that unlock access to enterprise context data to be able to tune responses specific to your business or a specific role. And so our ability to rapidly onboard a customer, with the right people in a room, we can provision a SurePath tenant, all of their identity and directory sync, their private models and enterprise context sources in an hour. And so with our ability to do that and unlock value that we see other customers still struggling with for over a year for those same pain points, that's the most exciting to me, is because we're really bringing those solutions forward. I think one other thing that's really exciting that comes to mind is we're seeing those end user feedbacks of wow, I'm getting access to tools I didn't know, and I'm being enabled in my daily work. And that's really rewarding for our team. We just sponsored Reinforce, AWS's security conference, and getting to hear firsthand how powerful the tools that we built and the solutions we're unlocking within the enterprise and within our customers it's really rewarding. We followed up with one of our early design partner customers for a check-in, and they shared with us two main points. They said one of their biggest advocates was the CHRO, because now they could answer new candidate questions of what generative AI tools will I get here? Oh, well, we have our own GenAI portal where you can use it for any use case, and we encourage it because it makes you more productive. It's part of our culture, and it's tools that we've enabled every employee with. And the second was the CRO actually uncovered shadow procurement, because they found individual business units that had procured generative AI solutions that they thought were secure, but didn't actually, in their DPAs, their data processing addendums, didn't actually cover them the way that their business model required them to be. So I love being able to hear those exciting value propositions of other ways customers are finding value in the governance controls we're helping them implement.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, what departments you end up touching or, know about SurePath, even though it's, the CISO that you're spending most of your time with now. But when you're creating a solution that impacts employees across an organization, it'll be really powerful to see how many different areas you end up touching.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So, I think there's a lot more to come in terms of traction, but to shift gears a little bit, talk about the fundraising process, because I think that's something that a lot of founders have questions on. What's the environment like? How is it changing? Was it, tough to find funding? What drew you to Operator Collective? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So luckily, we're in the generative AI space.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot of buzz and excitement there.
Little different ball game in the Gen AI space than others right now.
I would not like to be a founder fundraising outside of an AI solution today, but maybe there's a market there, and there's still funds that are focusing in that area. So definitely some potential there. Part of the reason we really engaged with Operator Collective early on, and why we were really focused on and engaged is honestly, Haley, yourself, Malin. When we first met, I mean, you're both incredible. The entire team's incredible. Personalities and cultures that we felt like we wanted to exhibit. And also when we met, the depth to which you'd already explored the segment, you knew you were going to make an intelligent investment in the space where we're exploring that. And I think you and your team understood the governance around generative AI, the security segment better than just about anybody we talked to. And that depth and breadth of knowledge, and knowing that we knew that there was a lot we could learn from, grow with, and a group of people that we really felt like we could partner with on this journey together. And that's proven out to be an incredible partnership. That really sold us on Operator Collective as being a must-have on our investor list. So thank you for being willing to partner with us.
No, thank you for having us be a part of this journey. I think, the reason why we knew so much about the category is we looked at a lot of companies in it, and we're really excited about it. And I think, what stood out to us about you both and what you're building is, you had thought about the product in a way that nobody else had, and had gotten to a point where it was truly so elegant and simple in the way that you're solving such a complex problem. And that takes a lot to be able to boil down something that has so many tentacles and so many different areas into a solution that really makes sense. So really excited to be a part of it and excited for the future.
Thank you so much. One other thing I would add there too is obviously the Operator Collective network too, right? It's how we got introduced into Operator Collective through your amazing network. It's how we got introduced to investments. And it's a network that's really incomparable. You can't find anywhere else. So very powerful network that we continue to benefit from. So thank you.
Awesome. So what's next?
Okay. So our biggest focus for the rest of this year is we are channel driven. We continue to expand our channel and sales teams. And so from our go-to-market side, we're really focused on accelerating how we can help customers get to value faster. How fast can we help you onboard, integrate into solutions? We've got some tech partnerships that will be click to integrate solutions to integrate with customers' existing security stack that will be out later this year as well. So it's all around customer value and go-to-market acceleration from our channel, our sales, and customer onboarding. Specific to our product, the back half this year is really focused on our southbound developer APIs, expanding how our partners can integrate SurePath and the control plane that we provide into the solutions they're developing for customers, the internal use cases, in enabling and accelerating internal developers to centralize that management, but also accelerate them in ways where maybe they're not a RAG expert and they don't have experience connecting enterprise context sources, where they can use the model routing capabilities within SurePath to seamlessly switch from one model provider to another and not have to re-architect their application. So really enabling a lot of the enterprise edge cases as well as our partners' ecosystem to really add additional value across the SurePath stack and make it an accelerator to other work streams beyond just the workforce use within the enterprise.
Yeah. Well, this is obviously a very rapidly moving space and changing landscape. So we're excited to see what's to come and support how we can.
Thank you so much, Haley.
Awesome. Thanks, Casey. Talk to you soon.
All right. Talk to you soon.